was a dome, his hands like pitchforks, his legs long as masts, and his mouth big as a cave. His teeth were like large stones, his nostrils ewers, his eyes two lamps, and his look was fierce and lowering. Now when the fisherman saw the Ifrit, his side muscles quivered, his teeth chattered, his spittle dried up, and he became blind about what to do. Upon this the Ifrit looked at him and cried, "There is no God but thee, God." And Suleiman is the prophet of God, presently adding, "O apostle of Allah, slay me not. Never again will I gainsay thee in word, nor sin against thee in deed." Quoth the fisherman, "O Marid, didst thou say Suleiman the apostle of Allah? And Suleiman is dead some 1,800 years ago, and we are now in the last days of the world. What is thy story, and what is thy account of thyself? And what is the cause of thy entering into this cucurbit?" Now when the evil spirit heard the words of the fisherman, quoth he, "There is no God but thee, God. Be of good cheer, O fisherman." Quoth the fisherman, "Why biddest thou me to be of good cheer?" And he replied, "Because of thy having to die an ill death in this very hour." Said the fisherman, "Thou deservest for thy good tidings the withdrawal of heaven's protection. O thou distant one, wherefore shouldest thou kill me? And what thing have I done to deserve death? I who freed thee from the jar and saved thee from the depths of the sea and brought thee up on the dry land." Replied the Ifrit, "Ask of me only what mode of death thou wilt die, and by what manner of slaughter shall I slay thee?" Rejoined the fisherman, "What is my crime? And wherefore such retribution?" Quoth the Ifrit, "Hear my story, O fisherman." And he answered, "Say on, and be brief in thy saying, for of very sooth my life breath is in my nostrils." Thereupon quoth the Jinni, "Know that I am one among the heretical John, and I sinned against Solomon, David's son, on the twain be peace. I, together with the famous Secure al-Jinni, whereupon the prophet sent his minister, Asaf son of Barkia, to seize me, and this wazir brought me against my will, and led me in bonds to him. I, being downcast, espied my nose, and he placed me standing before him like a suppliant. When Solomon saw me, he took refuge with Allah and bade me entrance the true faith and obey his behest. But I refused. So sending for this cucurbit, he shut me up therein and stopped it over with lead, whereon he impressed the Most High name, and gave his orders to the John who carried me off and cast me into the midmost of the ocean. There I abode in 100 years, during which I said in my heart, "Whoso shall release me, him will I enrich for ever and ever." But the full century went by, and when no one set me free, I entered upon the second 50, saying, "Whoso shall release me, for him I will open the hordes of the earth." Still no one set me free, and thus 400 years passed away. Then quoth I, "Whoso shall release me, for him will I fulfill 3 wishes." Yet no one set me free. Thereupon I waxed wroth with exceeding wrath, and said to myself, "Whoso shall release me from this time forth, him will I slay, and I will give him choice of what death he will die. And now as thou hast released me, I give thee full choice of deaths." The fisherman, hearing the words of the Ifrit, said, "O Allah, slay me not, lest Allah set one to slay thee. Replied the contumacious one, there is no help for it. Die thou must, so ask me by way of boon what manner of death thou wilt die. Abed thus certified. The fisherman again addressed the Ifrit, saying, Forgive me this my death as a generous reward for having freed thee. And the Ifrit, Surely I would not slay thee save on account of that same release. O chief of the Ifrits, said the fisherman, I do thee good, and thou requitest me with evil. In very sooth the old saw lieth not when it saith, We wrought them weal, they met our weal with ill. Such, by my life, is every bad man's labor. To him who benefits unworthy wights, shall hapwood and up to Umi Amir's neighbor. Now when the Ifrit heard these words, he answered no more of this talk. Needs must I kill thee. Upon this the fisherman said to himself, This is a Jinni, and I am a man to whom Allah hath given a passably cunning wit. So I will now cast about to compass his destruction by my contrivance and by mine intelligence, even as he took counsel only of his malice and his frowardness. He began by asking the Ifrit, Hast thou indeed resolved to kill me? And receiving for all answer, Even so, he cried. Now in the most great name graven on the seal ring of Solomon the son of David, peace be with the holy twain, and I question thee on a certain matter, wilt thou give me a true answer? But hearing mention of the most great name, his wits were troubled, and he said with trembling, Ask and be brief. Quoth the fisherman, How didst thou fit into this bottle, which would not hold thy hand, no, nor even thy foot? And how came it to be large enough to contain the whole of thee? Replied the Ifrit, What? Dost not believe that I was all there? And the fisherman rejoined, Nay, I will never believe it until I see thee inside with my own eyes. And Shahrazad perceived the dawn of the day and ceased to say her permitted say. When it was the fourth night, her sister said to her, Please finish us this tale, and thou be not sleepy. So she resumed, It hath reached me, O auspicious king, that when the fisherman said to the Ifrit, I will never and no wise believe thee until I see thee inside it with mine own eyes, the evil spirit on the instant shook, and became a vapor which condensed and entered the jar little and little, till all was well inside, when lo, the fisherman in hot haste took the leaden cap with the seal, and stoppered therewith the mouth of the jar, and called out to the Ifrit, saying, Ask me by way of boon what death thou wilt die. By Allah, I will throw thee into the sea before us, and here will I build me a lodge, and whoso cometh hither, I will warn him against fishing, and will say, In these waters abideth an Ifrit who giveth as a last favor a choice of deaths, and fashion of slaughter to the man who saveth them. Now when the Ifrit heard this from the fisherman, and saw himself in limbo, he was minded to escape, but this was prevented by Solomon's seal. So he knew that the fisherman had cozened and outwitted him, and he waxed lowly and submissive, and began humbly to say, I did but jest with thee. But the other answered, Thou liest, O vilest of the Ifrits, and meanest and filthiest. And he set off with the bottle for the seaside, the Ifrit calling out, Nay, nay, and calling out, I. Thereupon the evil spirit softened his voice and smoothed his speech, and abased himself, saying, What wouldest thou shall spare thee, and slay me not, lest Allah slay thee. Yet thou spurnedst my supplication, and hadst no intention